You.
No, ma'am, I have not heard any further.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're talking about the property just inside the gate.
Well, my grandchildren just arrived for the weekend before I came here, and if they'd thought I might do something to the sledding hill in Montreat, I'd better just find another place to sleep until Monday. It is a great place to sled, but let me tell you, it's not real smooth, and if you find out that you are a little bit older than you were the last time you sledded on a really rough downhill slope, you find some new muscles. I'm opposed to this site because of the fact that we would apparently need to build a 3-story building that I think would tower over the gate and over our entryway. It also looked like parking was a real issue, that some people would have to park across Kanawha Drive to get to, or even across Virginia to find another place to park. So I'm opposed to that. I do know that several people wrote me and said, well, this could be a great welcome center for Montreat. But our town services office is our business office. It's never been a welcome center, although people may come in and we could certainly put a rack of maps and so forth in there. But the Gatehouse has been the wonderful welcome center for the times of the year in the summer when the most people visit Montreat. So I would also not be in favor of that for the purpose of a welcome center. We don't have an extra staff member to do that sort of work.
I'm not in favor of that site either. I just, we've looked at it, the architects have looked at it. I just don't think it's one of the better sites.
I think there's some real safety issues, especially with people who want to walk to town hall. The truck bypass, that's the only way for a lot of those trucks to get into Montreat, in spite of several of them trying to get through the gate. But I think it's critical for the town to be able to let the trucks in. It would be wonderful to have an environment where we didn't need the trucks and the school buses and all of those large vehicles that need to be able to get into town and cannot get through the gate. I think the only other option to that is to take down the gate. That is not town property. It belongs to the MRA. And I suppose there would be a major uprising by anybody who comes in here if that ended up having to be the option. I really am concerned for safety of a lot of the people in Montreat if we choose that option.
I think perhaps I'll speak in, I'm not in favor of that particular lot either for all the reasons that have been stated. So perhaps we can agree by consensus to move on from that particular site and to consider the other 3 within the gate. Does that sound good to everybody?
I think that's the mayor's call.
The next property we will look at is Pratt Park, because it's sort of on Assembly Drive as we come in.
This is a hard one for me. It was kind of interesting during the evaluations that were put up by the architects. You know, you sort of lay up in the middle of the night wondering what it's going to be and what your decision's going to be, and you go from one, you go from the other. And I sort of went into the architects meeting, and I'm skipping ahead and saying, gosh, I hope it's going to come out to be by the post office, maybe. Maybe that's a good choice, and that'll give me some way to go with that, you know, as I tried to narrow it down to 2 options. And then I sort of walked out, well, post office has some issues, we'll talk about those, and Pratt Park has some thoughts. And one of the thoughts for me, and just the pros and the cons I'll go through, I said, wow, wouldn't it be great to have the town hall number 1? That's the first thing you say. Obviously, I serve on the town commissioners right now, so I just think it's great to have, wow, when you come into the area, that's the first thought. Town hall, then you get to the conference center, and you get to the college, and we're truly 3 different entities. So I look at that, so that's a real pro for me for Pratt Park. Certainly in terms of the cons for me for Pratt Park, is when I went out to review it, and I want to thank Emery Underwood for taking some time to have us look at Pratt Park in a serious way of placement of things there. But a real con for me on Pratt Park was when we went out to walk it, it was quite wet. And that was in a relatively dry week. So I think there are going to be huge water issues there with just moisture in the thing. The other thing that, as we consider this, there are houses that are pretty close to Pratt Park in the same way. Homes, look at the homes. Norm Wilhelmy and also the two on Virginia. But the bottom line too is that this is green space. And one of the things that Perrin Wright has talked about, green is green. And we value conservation areas. We get disturbed when people clear their lots and go into the wilderness areas and don't respect the lines. We definitely want green space here in Montreat because green is green and Montreaters like green. So that's definitely a consideration for me as we move through this process. Another thought in the process for me is who uses Pratt Park? Right now, I'm a hiker. I get out on the trails. I've done the Swannanoa Rim hikes twice. Joe gets me out on the hills all the time. But there's going to come a point in time that I can't do those trails. Who's the use of Pratt Park? It's the green space for our grandchildren who come. It's the green space for me when I'm 85 or 95 or 105, should I be so lucky, just like Gene Getty's father. So those are just some thoughts I have as we walk through this process of the pros and the cons. So I'll let some others speak.
Tim?
Pratt Park has a lot of possibilities for me. I, like Mary, walked it, and Bill Hollins was kind enough to walk through there with me. And I just gotten off the golf course, and if you've ever played Black Mountain Golf Course, you can tell the difference between firm ground under your feet and wet ground. And the ground that day was fairly firm. The only thing I had to watch out for, Mary, is I know who uses that park a lot, and it's the dogs. But there is a drainage ditch on the backside. It can be culverted. There is a power line going right through the middle of it, as Bill pointed out to me. But, you know, there can be conversations with people with Duke or Progress Energy, whatever they call themselves these days, about burying that. The upper portion is wide enough. I don't know what the architects could come up with, but to me it has some real possibilities, and it could be a real challenge for the architects to come up with an interesting building that really fits Montreat. A lot of rock, a lot of wood, which is, we traditionally have that type of architecture here in this community. So it has a lot of possibilities. Now, as far as green space, well, if we're really concerned about green space, then we need to put a moratorium on any more building up here, period. Don't we, Robin? Up towards you. There's a lot of building going on up there, and we're just opening some more roads that are going to take away some more green space up there. So we can't have it both ways. Either we're going to allow people to build and do away with some more green space, whether we put it on Florida or where we put it, or we might put it on a piece of property that there aren't a lot of trees on. There's one gorgeous tree that I would hope would not be touched, but you know, we'll have to see. But I'm very much in favor of looking at that piece of property very hard.